Hey guys, it's Andrea from the blog Pine and Prospect Home, and today I'm sharing my fall dining room with you guys. Earlier this week I shared my fall living room space with you, so if you haven't seen that yet, I will put a card here so that you can go and check it out. And now we are moving on into the dining room. My house sort of all flows together. I wouldn't call it open concept, but each room kind of opens up into the other. I have these big openings, which I really appreciate, even though this is an older house built in the 30s. So as you make your way into the dining room, I really only made a few simple changes for fall, and I spent very little money, which of course, you know, I love sharing budget-friendly decorating ideas. So let's get started. There are just a few changes that I made in this space before I get into the fall decor. And the first is the dresser behind me, my grandfather's dresser. I sanded that thing, well, I should say my husband sanded it last year when my grandfather passed away. That was one of the pieces that I'd always loved and that I was able to take. And I'm just so thankful to have it. It reminds me of him every day. And my husband sanded it all down and got the shiny finish off of it, but I still wasn't in love with the color of it. It had some red cherry undertones still. And so I took some gray, dark gray paint, and I watered it down, and I put this gray wash all over the table with a paintbrush just recently, like last week. And I really like what it did to the dresser. It gave it this more weathered look, and it kind of toned down some of those pinky red undertones that I was still seeing. So I really love the way that dresser came out. And then another change that I made in here recently is the new bench that you see next to the dining room table. My husband built our table, and I never ended up sharing the plans here on my blog or on my YouTube channel. He made it a couple of years ago, and he was kind of just winging it like he normally does. So he was like, don't take pictures. I don't know how this is gonna turn out. Don't put this on your blog. Now I wish I had just taken pictures, but he does such a great job. My husband built the dining room bench as well to match the table. We stained it the same color. There was nothing wrong with the bench, but I was browsing through Facebook Marketplace one day, and I saw this really cool weathered bench made of old scaffolding, she said, and she was asking $80 for it. I offered $50 and she accepted. I think it is so cool, and I wasn't really sure where to use it. It looks like an outdoor garden bench, but I kind of wanted to try it in the dining room, and both my husband and I ended up really liking it in here. There's something about the old weathered texture and the gray tones, the cooler tones that it brings to the space. I just really am loving it in here. So I'm just trying it for a little while. He brought the other one that he built down in the basement. We can keep it, we can swap it back in here, but for right now I'm just trying this new find here, and I'd love to know what you guys think. I really, truly feel like it's such a cool and unique piece, and I love mixing old and new, and I feel like this space was missing some of that old rustic wood that I love so much, and this really brought that into this space for me. So I'm really loving the bench. It actually extends out to 10 feet long, which, can you imagine for Thanksgiving dinners when we have the whole family over? Sometimes we put another table right here at the end of our dining room table, and then we could just extend the bench out, which I think is super neat. So those are really the only two changes that I made in this space. The corner cupboard is the same, the little gray table is the same. I switch out my decor and my shelves every now and then, but they're basically the same as what they were. I'm looking for some different pieces for those shelves, maybe some stoneware or pottery to kind of bring in more of those rustic, you know, earth tones that I love decorating with this time of year. But for now, those are the main changes that I made in this space. So moving into the fall decor and what I did for fall, my hydrangeas, unfortunately, when they dry this like dark burgundy pink color. But I really loved the green ones, so I threw out a post on Facebook, I told you guys this, and asked if anyone had any that I could clip or have, and I had some friends reach out, and one sweet friend even dropped some off. someone else, my sister, went and clipped some from a friend of ours who said, come on over. So I decorated my dining room with dried hydrangeas this year, and I just love the way they look. It was free decor. I mean, you can't get much more cheap than that, right? And I just kind of placed them in different places all over my dining space. So let's look at the dresser behind me first. I used an old bucket that I scored last year on my shopping trip with my mom and sister. It's this really cool galvanized pail, and it almost has like some copper in it as well that has tarnished over time, and it's just a really neat piece for fall. And I brought it up and put it on my grandpa's dresser, filled it with these beautiful dried hydrangeas, which were super simple to dry, by the way. I just put them in a little bit of water and waited until that water had evaporated, and they feel like papery now, and they've dried perfectly. So really simple to do that. And that's really it. I put a white pumpkin there next to the hydrangeas, and it's very simple, very minimal, but I love the way that it looks. I found a really pretty pillow recently on Amazon, this gorgeous block print. It was very affordable. I think this pillow cover was like $13. I will link it in my blog post, but I love the pop of green that it adds, and I love just the pattern that it brings to this space, especially against the rustic dresser that sits behind the chair. So of course that beautiful bright white really pops against the wicker too, which I love. Then as we move over to the dining room table, same thing. I decided to use an old stoneware bowl that was my mom's. She gave me a bunch of her old bowls because they weren't really her time period anymore, which, by the way, one of these days I'm going to show you my mom's house. I know I keep saying that. We just have to schedule a time to do it. She has the coolest home, all decorated in 17th century antiques. You guys would love it. But she gave me all of her old antique bowls, and so I filled one of them with more dried hydrangeas, and then I brought that really cool dough bowl that my friend Rhonda sent me from Hallstrom home, and I set that on the table, and it tied in perfectly to my grandpa's dresser. It's the same wood tones happening. One simple little white pumpkin is really all I needed for the center of the table, and I just love the way that it looks there. Very minimal fall decor, but it's just perfect for me. And we have so much going on at our table every day with, you know, homeschool and books and papers, and then of course dinner at night, that having a lot of clutter on the table has never worked great for us. So keeping it simple is the way to go here with 4 boys in our house. This corner here with my painted corner cupboard, also a Facebook Marketplace score, by the way. I have a whole blog post on that with paint colors and everything. I just did the same thing. I put some dried hydrangeas up at the top in a dough bowl, and I think it's just a beautiful pop of green and just the right fall touch there. And then, of course, near my little dresser off the kitchen, this little dresser was a thrift store find. It was $10. I painted it a dark gray. It's been a couple of colors over the years, but it's a dark gray right now, and it's the perfect little spot for napkins and linens and my cleaning cloths, and it's just, I love it for those things. It sits right off the kitchen. The kids can easily open those drawers, and I just put a pretty basket on it for fall. And of course, more of those dried hydrangea stems. How much more simple can you get? I was almost questioning whether or not I should even share this space because it's really so minimal and there aren't a ton of, you know, mind-blowing ideas here. But I hope that it just encourages you guys that sometimes scaling back and simplifying, just, it's okay. It's all right. You don't have to have a ton of seasonal decor. You can keep it very minimal, and you can stick to neutral colors, dried stems, and really, to me, it's just as beautiful. And so I hope you enjoyed this little tour of our dining space. Let me know what you guys think about the dried hydrangeas and my grandpa's dresser with that gray wash on it, and of course my new Facebook Marketplace score. I'm loving this bench next to our warm honey toned table. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new to my channel, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.